The Galactic Council chamber was eerily silent. Hundreds of alien species, each representing powerful civilizations spread across the stars, sat in grim anticipation. The emergency session had been called with a single topic on the agenda, a name that sent shivers down the spine of every warlord, emperor, and diplomat present: humans. At the center of the vast circular chamber, a holographic display flickered to life. It showed an image of a ruined fleet, shattered warships, floating debris, and the burning wreckage of what was once considered the most advanced armada in the galaxy. The fleet belonged to the Zorvax Empire, a war-driven species known for their conquests. And now, they were gone. A deep voice echoed through the chamber as Supreme Chancellor Zyron of the Zygorthian Empire stepped forward. His three golden eyes scanned the assembly before he spoke. For millennia, we have ruled the stars. We have fought wars that shape the very fabric of the cosmos. We have crushed rebellions and erased civilizations that dared to defy us. And yet, we have never faced a threat like this. He gestured toward the hologram, and the image shifted. It now displayed the attackers, the ones responsible for the annihilation of the Zorvax. They were not advanced war machines. They were not genetically engineered conquerors. They were humans. A wave of murmurs spread through the chamber. Some delegates whispered in disbelief, while others shook their heads in denial. "This must be a mistake," growled a reptilian warlord from the Voth Dominion. "The humans are primitive. Their technology is centuries behind ours. The Zorvax must have suffered an internal collapse. There's no way they could have been defeated by them." Chancellor Zyron did not react to the doubt. Instead, he played the final moments of the battle. The hologram showed the Zorvax fleet launching their attack, a coordinated, overwhelming strike meant to wipe out the human presence near their colonies. The energy blasts, capable of leveling entire cities, struck the human ships. And then something terrifying happened. The human warships absorbed the attacks. Their hulls, reinforced with an unknown form of energy shielding, shimmered for a brief moment before retaliating with precise, devastating counterstrikes. The battle lasted less than an hour. The Zorvax fleet, once thought to be invincible, was erased. A new voice, filled with controlled rage, interrupted the silence. It belonged to High Admiral Vorak of the Zalari Dominion, a race known for its ruthless military campaigns. His eyes, dark and filled with contempt, locked onto Zyron. "If what you say is true, then the humans must be stopped before they grow any stronger. We should launch an immediate strike, wipe them out before they become an even greater threat." A cold chuckle echoed through the chamber. It came from a figure shrouded in shadows, Grand Strategist Malcor of the Oldari Syndicate. He leaned forward, his voice dripping with amusement. "Ah, Vorak. The Zorvax thought the same thing. Tell me, where are they now?" The room fell silent once again. Chancellor Zyron's expression darkened. He stepped forward, pressing a button on his wristband. The hologram flickered once more, now displaying something even more disturbing. A message, a transmission, broadcast across the galaxy in the aftermath of the battle. A simple warning, sent by the humans themselves. "We did not seek war, but you brought it to us. Now we bring it to you." For the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Council felt something they had never known before. The Galactic Council wasted no time. The humans had declared war, and the empires of the galaxy could not afford to wait. If there was any hope of survival, they had to strike first. The Zalari Dominion, the most aggressive species in the Council, volunteered to lead the assault. Their warlords had conquered entire civilizations. Their fleets had turned planets to ash. They were feared across the stars, and they welcomed battle. High Admiral Vorak stood at the bridge of his warship, the Tyrant's Wrath, watching as thousands of Zalari dreadnoughts aligned in perfect formation. Each one was armed with enough firepower to destroy a planet. Vorak grinned, his sharp teeth glinting in the dim light. "The humans will learn what true power is," he snarled. The fleet entered warp space, heading straight for the Sol system. The humans, despite their recent victory against the Zorvax, were still considered weak in the eyes of the Dominion. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and technologically inferior. Vorak had studied their ships, their weapons, their strategies. He had accounted for every possibility, except one. As the Zalari fleet exited warp near Jupiter, they expected to find a scattered, unprepared defense force. Instead, they were met with a nightmare. The humans had been waiting for them. The Dominion ships barely had time to react before the first. Human warships fired. But it wasn't the weapons that terrified them. It was how the humans fought. They moved too fast. Their ships darted between enemy fire, slipping through gaps in the Dominion's formation with terrifying precision. They didn't fight like soldiers. They fought like predators. Within the first 10 minutes, over 100 Zalari warships had been reduced to burning wreckage. Admiral Vorak growled, gripping the controls. "Titan formation! Overwhelm them with numbers!" But the humans had already anticipated this. A sudden energy surge rippled through the battlefield as an enormous human warship emerged from the darkness. It was unlike anything the Dominion had ever seen before. Sleek, silent, deadly. It unleashed a single, concentrated blast, one that passed through Zalari shields as if they were nothing. Entire sections of the Dominion fleet vanished in an instant. Vorak's confidence wavered. This is impossible. Then came the second shock. The humans hacked their systems. Warnings flashed across every Zalari screen. Weapons stopped responding. Shields deactivated. Communication lines fell silent. And in the chaos, the humans struck with merciless precision. Vorak watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart, ship by ship. His warriors, his unstoppable army, were being hunted. In a last desperate attempt, he opened a transmission to the humans. "Wait! We surrender!" The reply was immediate. "We don't accept surrender from those who wanted us dead." The last thing Admiral Vorak saw was the flash of a human missile streaking toward his ship. And then the Zalari Dominion ceased to exist. Panic spread through the Galactic Council like wildfire. The Zalari, one of the most feared empires in the galaxy, had been eradicated in a single battle. The humans had not just won, they had annihilated their enemy without suffering a single known casualty. Chancellor Zyron stood before the council, his face grim. "This war is unlike anything we have ever seen. If we do not act together, humanity will destroy us all." A heated debate followed. Some species demanded immediate peace talks, desperate to avoid extinction. Others, blinded by arrogance, still believed the humans could be defeated. But the humans were not waiting. New reports flooded in from the outer colonies. Human warships were advancing faster than any species had anticipated. They had taken the Zorvax territories. The Zalari were gone. The humans were not conquering planets. They were erasing threats. There were no negotiations, no ultimatums, only silence. Zyron turned to Grand Strategist Malcor. "Tell me you have a plan." Malcor nodded. His species, the Uldari, were masters of deception and strategy. If brute force couldn't stop the humans, perhaps something more cunning could. "We will lure them into a trap," Malcor said. "A battle they cannot win. A battlefield of our choosing." The plan was set. The remaining empires of the galaxy gathered. Their forces, creating the largest fleet ever assembled. It was their last hope. They would make their final stand at the heart of the galaxy, and they prayed it would be enough. But deep down, they already knew the truth. The humans were coming, and nothing could stop them. The vast reaches of the galaxy trembled with fear as the remaining forces of the Galactic Council prepared for the battle of their lives. The humans, having obliterated the Zorvax and Zalari, were now advancing toward the heart of the galaxy. Their fleets moved with terrifying speed, their strategies unpredictable, and their methods ruthless. In the Council's war room, a sense of urgency was palpable. Hundreds of representatives from different species sat around a massive table, each one weighed down by the reality that their very existence was at risk. The Oldari, the Ukreth, the Tralshi. Each species had brought everything they could muster to this final confrontation. Their fleets, massive and fearsome, stretched for light years, ready to fight the humans in the ultimate showdown. The Council's strategy was simple. They would force the humans to come to them, corner them, and unleash everything they had in one final push. Grand Strategist Malcor stood at the center, a hologram of the battlefield spinning above him. He pointed to the central star system, the location of the final confrontation. "We will lure them into a trap," he said with cold precision. "Here, at the edges of the galaxy, where we will strike them with every weapon we have. Our combined fleets will obliterate them." For a moment, the room seemed to hum with energy. Species that had once fought against each other now stood united in a rare moment of harmony. They had no choice. It was this battle or their extinction. But even as the plan unfolded, doubts lingered. A delegate from the Tralshi, a reptilian species known for their cold-blooded calculations, spoke up. "Are we certain this will work? The humans have already outsmarted and outgunned every opponent they've faced. They are no longer the species we once thought of as weak." Malcor met the delegate's eyes and smiled grimly. "We have underestimated them before, but we have never fought them in our home ground." The trap had been set. The humans would enter this system, believing they were going to face an easy victory, only to be overwhelmed by a coordinated, deadly offensive. As the countdown began, the Council's fleet began to assemble. It was the largest force ever seen, a united front of alien species, all prepared to sacrifice everything for their survival. But across the galaxy, in the cold reaches of space, a lone human fleet drifted closer to the trap. The humans, it seemed, were unaware of the imminent ambush. Their ships were sleek, streamlined, and ominously silent as they approached the designated star system. They had no idea that the greatest battle in galactic history was waiting for them. The humans arrived, as the Council had predicted, with their ships seemingly unprepared for a fight. The fleet, once a symbol of power and innovation, appeared almost vulnerable in the grand emptiness of space. At the helm of the flagship Aegis, Commander Serena Cross observed the galaxy's largest fleet. She stood tall, her expression unreadable, as the millions of ships belonging to the Galactic Council loomed in the distance. She had heard the rumors of the Zorvax's destruction, the fall of the Zalari, but even now, seeing the sheer scale of the opposition, it felt almost surreal. "Are we ready?" she asked her first officer. "We've been preparing for this moment for a long time," the officer replied, his voice steady, but with an underlying edge of nervousness. Serena nodded. She had led her people through countless wars, through countless impossible odds. She had seen the rise and fall of empires, and yet this was different. This was not just about victory. It was about survival. She gave the order to engage, and the humans' fleet moved forward, its ships cutting through space with deadly intent. The trap had been sprung. As the first wave of Zalari dreadnoughts fired, the human fleet responded with terrifying precision. Each ship seemed to anticipate the enemy's moves before they even happened. Shields flared as energy blasts crashed against them, but they didn't falter. The humans' ships, agile and nimble, danced around the incoming, Fire, their weapons striking back with brutal force. Within minutes, the Council's first wave was decimated. But the reinforcements came in, a flood of ships pouring from every corner of the galaxy. The humans were outnumbered, but they fought with the ferocity of cornered beasts. Their ships weaved through the battlefield, striking with pinpoint accuracy, taking down one ship after another. And then came the real shock. The humans didn't fight like they were part of a collective military force. They fought like individuals, like a scattered, unpredictable swarm of predators. Their tactics weren't just coordinated, they were alive. They adapted. They responded to every attack, learning the enemy's moves in real time and countering them before they could even be executed. The humans had mastered war on an entirely new level. They didn't just rely on technology, they used their instincts, their cunning, their creativity in ways the galaxy had never seen before. As the battle raged on, the Council's forces began to falter. The massive fleet, once brimming with confidence, was now scattered, falling apart under the unrelenting assault of the humans. It was no longer a battle of numbers. It was a battle of will, and the humans were winning. The first signs of despair began to show. The Galactic Council had united their greatest military minds and fleets, but it was all unraveling before their eyes. Ships that had once been invincible were now mere targets for the relentless human assault. For every ship the Council destroyed, 2 more human ships appeared in its place. Each time they tried to regroup, the humans adapted, outflanking them, taking them by surprise. The Aegis was in the thick of it all. Commander Serena Cross stood. On the bridge, her expression set in stone. This was the moment she had feared, the first step toward annihilation. But even now, she had no doubts. She knew that humanity had only one path forward: victory or extinction. Status report, she commanded. The officer's voice was grim. We're down to 30% of our fleet, Commander. We can't keep this up much longer. Serena nodded. She had anticipated heavy losses, but the scale of destruction was beyond anything she had imagined. Yet, in the chaos of the battlefield, she noticed something that gave her hope. The enemy wasn't fighting for victory. They were fighting for survival, and in that they were much stronger than any alien empire had ever been. We push forward, she said, her voice unwavering. For humanity, for survival. We do not retreat. We will win. And with that, the humans drove deeper into the heart of the Council's forces, unstoppable and determined. The battle had raged on for days. The final confrontation was no longer just a military operation. It had become a battle for survival. As the human fleet pressed forward, the Galactic Council's forces began to falter. Ships that once dominated the stars were now burning wreckage, floating aimlessly in the vast emptiness of space. The humans, despite being outnumbered, had turned the tide in their favor, adapting their tactics and overcoming the might of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Commander Serena Cross stood in her command center aboard the Aegis, watching the carnage unfold on the view screen. Her eyes narrowed as she saw the Council's reinforcements falling back, retreating in disarray. Victory was within their grasp, but it was not enough. She knew the final moments were coming, the moment when the Council would realize that they had underestimated humanity, and it would be too late to stop the inevitable. We have them, Serena said, her voice a mix of determination and calm. Push forward. No mercy. The humans were relentless, their ships moving with a single purpose: to annihilate the enemy before they could regroup. The remaining Council fleets scrambled to maintain some semblance of order, but it was clear that they had lost their advantage. The humans were now the hunters, but just as the humans began to taste victory, the Council deployed their last secret weapon, something they had kept hidden until the final moments. It was a weapon so powerful that even the human fleets would be unable to escape its destructive power. The Galactic Council had designed it in case of a final desperate confrontation, a weapon capable of destroying entire planets in a single strike. The weapon was called Exodus. As the weapon's activation, signal echoed through the Council's fleet. A massive energy field began to form in the center of their remaining ships. The humans, unaware of the weapon's existence, continued their assault, pushing forward with all their might. But then, the unthinkable happened. A blinding flash of light erupted from the center of the Council's fleet, followed by an intense, gravitational pull that threatened to tear the very fabric of space itself. It was as if time itself had slowed. Ships near the explosion were sucked toward the center of the blast, their hulls disintegrating in an instant. The shock waves spread across the battlefield, catching even the human ships off guard. Serena's heart raced as she watched the devastation unfold. The Council had unleashed their final weapon, and it was more powerful than anything she had anticipated. It had the potential to wipe out entire star systems, and it was now charging toward them faster than they could react. "All ships, fall back," Serena ordered, her voice sharp with urgency. But it was too late. As the gravitational field reached its peak, the human fleet was caught in its pull. Ships were torn apart, their systems collapsing under the immense pressure. The Aegis itself shook violently, its hull creaking under the strain. Serena gripped the command chair, her knuckles white as the ship groaned and shook. The Aegis was falling. It was the first time since the humans had declared war that Serena doubted they could win. The Council had played their final card, and it was far stronger than anything the humans had ever faced. For a moment, everything went dark. Serena's eyes fluttered open, her body aching from the blast. She could hear the sounds of alarms and crackling debris around her, but she couldn't focus. The Aegis had been severely damaged in the shockwave from the Exodus weapon. The once pristine command center was now a war zone, with sparks flying, and crew members scrambling to regain control. "Commander Cross!" a voice shouted from across the room. Serena turned, her vision blurry but focused. A crew member covered in soot and debris was running toward her. "We're still alive, Commander. Barely, but we're still alive." Serena shook her head, trying to clear the fog. "Where are we? What happened?" The crew member hesitated. We've been thrown off course. The shockwave hit us hard, but we've managed to stabilize some of our systems. The fleet, it's been decimated. We lost contact with the rest of our forces." Serena's heart sank. The humans had faced a setback, a devastating blow that had shaken their forces to the core. But as she looked out the viewport, something unexpected caught her eye. Through the haze of destruction, she saw a glimmer of light, a massive ship, unlike any the humans had used before, breaking through the chaos. It was a ship that the Galactic Council had never seen, a vessel capable of turning the tide of the war in an instant. It was humanity's last hope. The ship was called the Phoenix. Built in secret, the Phoenix was humanity's ultimate weapon, a ship capable of harnessing the very energy that had nearly destroyed them. It was the key to defeating the Exodus weapon and giving the humans a fighting chance. As the Phoenix soared through space, its energy shields flaring against the enemy fire, Serena knew that the final battle had just begun. The Council had thrown everything they had at humanity, and yet humanity had survived. Now they would fight back, harder than ever before. With the Phoenix now in play, the humans launched a counteroffensive unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The ship's advanced technology allowed them to tap into the energy fields that powered the Exodus weapon, neutralizing its destructive capabilities. As the humans' fleets regrouped, the Council's forces began to realize they were facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before, an enemy that not only survived their worst, but also adapted, evolved, and fought back with even greater strength. The battle was no longer about strategy or firepower. It was about will, and the humans had it in abundance. As the Phoenix led the charge, its weapons lighting up the sky, Serena felt a surge of hope. For the first time in what seemed like an eternity, she saw the tide of the battle turning in humanity's favor. The Exodus weapon, once a symbol of the Council's ultimate power, was now nothing more than a relic. The humans had taken the fight to the Council, and they were not backing down. The Council's remaining ships scattered as the human fleet closed in. One by one, they were picked off, their once mighty warships falling to the relentless assault of the humans. There would be no mercy. There would be no surrender. The Council had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated humanity's ability to fight, to survive, and to destroy. The war was not over, but the humans had taken the first step toward victory, and the Galactic Council now understood something they had long feared. The day humans went to war was the day every alien species would tremble. The final days of the war arrived as the last remnants of the Galactic Council's forces. Scattered across the galaxy, the humans, once thought to be a primitive species, had proven themselves to be the most formidable force in the universe. They had endured impossible odds, faced overwhelming opposition, and had emerged victorious. As Commander Serena Cross stood on the bridge of the Phoenix looking out at the stars, she couldn't help but reflect on how far humanity had come. They had gone from the brink of annihilation to becoming the dominant force in the galaxy. They had won not just for themselves, but for all of humanity's future. "What now?" one of her officers asked, breaking her reverie. Serena smiled, her eyes hard with determination. "Now we rebuild. We rebuild a galaxy that is ours to protect. And we make sure that no one ever underestimates humanity again." The war was over, and a new era had begun. Humanity had not just survived, they had conquered. As the final remnants of the Council's military forces drifted into the void, the galaxy stood in awe of what humanity had accomplished. The Galactic Council, once the supreme authority in the universe, was now broken and scattered. Their fleets had been destroyed, their leadership shattered, and their power crushed beneath the weight of human determination. But the victory came at a cost. Thousands of lives had been lost, both human and alien, and the scars of war would remain for generations to come. Yet, despite the devastation, humanity stood resilient. They had not only defeated their greatest enemies, but had also ensured their place among the stars. Commander Serena Cross watched the galaxy change before her eyes. The once dominant alien empires, now in disarray, were left to pick up the pieces of their broken worlds. The humans, however, were not interested in vengeance. They had achieved their goal, not just to survive, but to ensure that the mistakes of the past were not repeated. As the Phoenix stood tall in the heart of the galaxy, Serena knew that the war was over. But this was not the end. It was the beginning of a new era for humanity. The Council had fallen, but the humans were not content with simply inheriting the void left behind. They would lead, they would build, and they would ensure that peace reigned, even if it meant fighting for it again. The day every alien species feared had come, and humanity had emerged victorious. The aftermath of the war was both a celebration and a challenge. While the humans had proven their superiority in battle, the task of rebuilding the galaxy was no less daunting. The remnants of the Galactic Council had crumbled, and there was no singular power to guide the many species that once ruled the stars. In this vacuum, humanity had no choice but to step up. Humanity's leadership, once a distant dream for many, now became a reality. Serena Cross, the commander who had led them to victory, was appointed as the first Galactic Chancellor. Under her leadership, the new interstellar alliance began to take shape. Species from all corners of the galaxy, once divided by centuries of conflict, now united under the banner of humanity's resolve. But not all were content with this new order. There were those who still clung to the old ways, unwilling to accept the fact that humanity was now in charge. They began to whisper of rebellion, of returning to the old order, and some even dared to challenge the new regime. Serena knew that this was not the end of the story. The true test of humanity's strength would come in the form of maintaining peace and unity in a galaxy that had long been defined by division and mistrust. But she was ready. Humanity had faced its darkest hour and emerged stronger for it. Now, they would ensure that no force, alien or otherwise, would ever again threaten their future. The galaxy had been forever changed, and humanity's reign had only just begun.